for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is, I haven't been in LA for, goodness, I think the last time I was here was my 30th birthday, which was 7 years ago.
Yesterday. This was yesterday, yes.
Yesterday was my 30th
Girl, what is
birthday.
wrong with you? This is LA.
I mean, sorry. Yeah,
Everybody's 17.
Yeah, of course. I'm 18.
Yes.
18, yeah.
So I will say, when Arthur told me about this, it was an easy yes. One, because I do love art, and I also love art that has brown people on it.
Fantastic.
You know what I mean? I know, like, we can go to the galleries and you're like, it's so abstract. It is. What are those? Yeah. I like going and I'm like, yes, I see my brother. I see my mom. I see something that moves me in a way that, like, we haven't always seen. And if we do see it, it's like a small collection in the basement on the 6th floor.
Absolutely.
But you are bringing African art to the worldwide art landscape.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
You're doing more than that. Yeah. Let's talk about how we got started. Why? Why did you care? How did we get here?
Gosh, I think for me, I've always loved art. Art has been, I'm half Nigerian, half Ghanaian. And
so I'm going to stop you right there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Everybody knows that I am full Nigerian.
Yes. So I know the question.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I won't go that basic. Okay. I'm not going to do that to you. We already know what jollof is best.
Oh,
so we're not.
Oh, do we? Okay. Oh,
we do.
We do? Okay. Okay.
The gallery is set in Ghana.
Yes.
Okay, but why?
Okay.
No, but why? I know the answer, but why? But why?
Okay, why? Well, I feel that, you see, Nigeria has a thriving art community and a thriving art market.
Yeah, we thrive in a lot of things.
Yeah, we do. Nigerians, we thrive. But I felt that Ghana was one of those places that had so many incredible artists, but just no places to show them. You know, I am the only, I think, at the moment, female gallerist there. And the other gallery, you know, was owned by an English Lebanese man that grew up in Ghana. So we don't have galleries. So just... but there's so many artists that are working there, so they'll leave. You know, they'll go to Europe, they'll go to the States. So I wanted a place that wasn't just like an art shop, which is what people would assume. I wanted it to look and feel like an international space, but on the continent, to show these artists. So, and Nigeria, the competition was fierce as well. So a business decision as well, I decided there's less of us in Ghana, so let me be the first. While if I was in Nigeria, I'd be one of many, which is wonderful. But Nigeria is still on my sights, though. I haven't forgotten it.
We will never let you forget. Were you yourself an artist? Tell us a little bit about your inception.
I was an artist. I wanted to do art professionally, but West African parents, if you say anything other than doctor, lawyer, engineer. So
you want to paint for a living?
Yeah.
Just paint.
You just want to paint. Isn't this a hobby?
It's a hobby.
So it's been kind of this lovely kind of going full circle coming into this side of it and the business side of it, because I did want to be an artist and I really want to go to art school. But I went into journalism instead and did cultural journalism. So I had this wonderful way of covering artists in London and in Africa, but working for publications like BBC and BBC Africa. And back then, there wasn't many. It was literally like Yinka, Shoni Barre, maybe Chris Ofili. There was not many major African artists showing. So I had all this footage and write-ups, and I remember my editor-in-chief at the time at BBC Africa said, you know, I should make a blog back then, way back then, when blogs were cool. And so I put all the footage and interviews and write-ups I did there. And then I found people asking me where to buy the art and you know, how do I get in touch with the gallery or with the artists, and these artists had become friends. So I suddenly found myself in a position of access to artists and collectors, but they couldn't get to each other. And then that blog became an advisory and then art dealing, and then the dream of the gallery then came, and then COVID baby made the gallery, and then
you did. You opened up the gallery in 2020, which we know was a difficult year for everybody.
Yes.
What? Please talk about that.
It was one of the situations that is kind of a blessing, because when I'd found the space and we started building, COVID had hit. So it caused everything closed down and shut down. But what that gave me the chance to do was actually time to come up with the kind of program I wanted and the kind of artists I want to work with and the kind of gallery I wanted to show. And I wanted it to be different. I knew I wanted to show young talent. I wanted talent that no one had ever seen. I wanted art that people had never envisioned an African artist would make. Because for the Western world at the time, African art was pretty much landscape or cultural or historical statues and bronzes and things like that. But then, as you guys can see, there was a range of incredible artistry and practices happening, but again, no one to see it. So that COVID was actually one of those times, a lot of people in the art world will tell you, a lot of people did very well in COVID in art. I think everyone sitting at home staring at their walls suddenly realized, I want to buy something. So it was actually a blessing in disguise. And then we opened, I think, October of 2020.
And have been thriving ever since.
Yes.
I mean, this is huge. What I find fascinating is I go home to Nigeria at least once a year. Nice. And whenever I go, I have to hit, you go to Balogun Market, you go to, Nikkei Art Gallery.
Yes.
But then when you go to there's an art market, and I'm fascinated because I bought tons of pieces from the art market, and they're gorgeous, beautiful, and I always find myself thinking, do they even know how valuable these pieces are? Is this an art student? How did this end up here?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then, you're haggling and you're just like, I feel bad haggling because this is somebody's, in America, in London, this would be their livelihood. Like Absolutely. This one painting in the right hands could set them up for, a year or more.
Yes.
Do you know how that happens in terms of like how beautiful artists get their work, they go to the market, there's no tie-in to if they even know the work was sold.
Yeah, this is the problem as well. We don't have, the art education element is missing. Art schools, even in Ghana, we used to have 2 major art schools, and then one of them got closed down. So we only really have one, which is KNUST, which is where people like, Ella Natsui and Serja Twiki Clotty and all the major Ghanaian artists went to. But no one really understands the business of art. So I found a lot of the time, I'm not just showing and like the commercial aspect of the gallery, it's a lot of education as well. How much you price yourself, where you price yourself, the type of collectors you want to envisage or put your works with. But then a lot of the young artists just, will paint and go exactly to a market. And then, sometimes there'll be that rare person from the States or Europe that sees it, oh my gosh, this is amazing, which has happened to me before, actually, but not in an African market. In a market in Vienna, I got told about an artist while someone was shopping, and there was like a little art fair, and then there was a young student. And I got sent pictures of this artwork, and I was like, wow, that young artist was a Mwako. So Michael Bafo was selling his art in Vienna and literally in these little art fairs and art markets while he was a student. I then met him in Ghana. This is when an Mwako painting went for $500 and $1,000. And obviously now he's one of the biggest artists that's from Ghana, full stop. So sometimes you can be lucky, but if there's no one that can guide you and teach you the ways on where you can place your art and show it, it's very difficult.
So 2 things. I'm going to be getting your number and taking pictures of the art that currently exists in my house.
Yes.
I just want to know the valuation.
Okay, sure.
We have had a double strike this year. I just need to know what I'm sitting on. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm playing. I'm Nigerian.
She's not joking.
But so how does that education come into place? Is there a version of the gallery informing or trying to take more young artists under their wings and teaching them?
Yes.
Because it's like if you are hungry,
yes,
and there's a market buyer that says, we'll take this for X amount of Naira,
yes,
you can get food for the week, and that feels like a deal.
Exactly.
And so how do you share the delayed gratification of art?
And it's difficult. I've been trying to get more involved in things like podcasts and talks. I do a lot more panel talks and things like that. But I'm that person that any artist, doesn't matter if I represent them or not, if they message me or email, I will share this knowledge. But I understand also the circumstances. It's a lot more difficult on our side of the world, as you know, and it's like you meet someone, they'll say, I want to take 10 paintings for $10,000, which is a lot to a young artist, but then they don't know that person can then sell each painting for $10,000. It's difficult. There's been some sharks in the industry that we all know that I have shared names. not here, but I have shared names of the artists. But I think, it's just about teaching them that it's about the long game. It's not the short game. I mean, there's some artists that are really here just to make their money and then they don't want to do it for life, and that's fine. But what I'm trying to look for are those artists that, this is what they live and breathe. This is it for them. And then they're the ones that tend to be a lot more patient, listen, learn, sometimes even send courses. During COVID, I did that a lot. A lot of Sotheby's and art school courses were for free at the time, sent that to a lot of them. And just help in any way we can, really.
You're like a fairy art godmother.
Yes.
That's what it's giving.
Well, they call me like an aunt big sis, but for sure.
And so, let's keep on the education track because, I find it interesting that you do have a lot more African collectors collecting African art, which didn't always be it wasn't always that. I fondly remember taking an aunt of mine to see Fela on Broadway.
Lovely.
And she did not want to.
Oh.
She was just like, so you mean Americans have created a play about that man who was married to 18 women? And it was just like, you're missing the point. You're missing. And it was just the thing of she couldn't fathom the artistry. She couldn't fathom what was special about Fela. And it, oftentimes it takes someone outside of your own people to come in and value it and deem it as important. And then everyone wakes up and is like, oh wait, maybe we should. So is there a surgence of more Africans investing in African art? Do they understand the value of that? Because
in Nigeria there is. The Nigerian market does well because Nigerians buy Nigerian art. Nigerians have clocked that it's supporting their own artists is what thrives the market. Ghana, we're not quite there yet. I think that's the thing, as you said, it's such a shame. It takes the outside world appreciating the culture or the artwork, and now they're like, oh, because there was a time where there's some artists I would be talking about who were doing very well now, Ghanaian artists, sent them to all the powerful and wealthy Ghanaians and, those who were art collectors. But they like what they know, and they liked the older artists, the masters. They don't know these young boys. Oh, is it going to last? They're not sure. And then now that they're doing well, they're like, oh, I want one now, and it's like,
too
well,
late.
do you have 00000? Because that's how much it costs now. But it is a shame. I find that I wish we appreciated our own art and culture more on the continent, and I think it's a shame that it takes the outside world to appreciate it before we then realize how beautiful it is.
Yeah. I can only imagine one African just looking at the Basquiat. Imagine the Basquiat was African. This man, I don't like his hair.
Yeah, no. But you know what's funny? At one point, I'd never forget. One of my very good friends, who I would always think that maybe our generation, who traveled and went to school abroad and things like that, would be a little bit more clued up. But I wanted him to invest in a couple of artists, and he would rather get a Basquiat print, and I mean a print that's not even worth anything, than an original artwork from Ghana. And I remember being like, oh dear, I have a lot more work to do.
Yeah. So, But now I know we're focusing a lot on the west side of Africa, and I was just in Cape Town and I went to the Zuid-Smoke.
Yes.
Do you, and for those of you who don't know, I think it's the premier...
Yeah, massive museum, contemporary museum, yes.
On the continent. And so do you do a lot of work? Is there versions where the West African artists are able to
South Africa is interesting. It has its own...
Very interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting. South Africa has its own kind of world. The South African art market, unfortunately, feels very separate to the rest of the continent's art market.
Why is that?
Because South Africa is an interesting place.
Oh, yeah. It's not a safe space. We are being recorded, I got you.
I think that's my diplomatic answer.
We'll talk offline.
Yeah. But exactly. But
that you will not spook Tani Magari.
I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible, but
I understand.
It's still going through its changes, and I think a lot of the galleries there are still predominantly owned by white-owned galleries, and still only want to show a certain type of artists. So, I mean, Zandile, which is this beautiful artwork here, was one of my first artists, and she's South African, and I found it crazy. And she went to one of the best art schools in South Africa. She's a proper, painter, beautiful painter. I found it surprising that no galleries in South Africa even looked at her until I did. And now they look at her, but it is hard. So South Africa, for me personally, and a lot of, actually, funny enough, Nigerian gallerists, we tend to leave them to it. Yeah. We're working more, I think the Moroccans, Northern Africa, East Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya, there's a lot more unison in that kind of market, and we will work together in that way. So we'll see.
I find that, and this has been coming up recently for me because I want to do a lot of work, especially in the film space, connecting American stories, British stories, African stories, all from the continent, because the diaspora is vast.
Yes.
And I feel like there is a really interesting opportunity that's being missed, especially in the movies from the continent, as it relates to including artwork.
Yes.
Because, like, for instance, Arthur brought up Molly's office. Well, Molly's apartment, Issa's apartment. We all, I mean, Melina was very specific about, like, let's get local art.
Nice.
Let's put this in the, like, Set Deck was involved in the curation of our sets, right?
Yes.
And I think that there's an opportunity missing when you watch Nollywood movies. There's a really, I mean, what do you think about this? There's a really beautiful tie-in that could happen, not only in the art space, but music. You know, when we grew up, soundtracks was still a thing.
Yes.
You know, and so, like, that's not in Nollywood, and neither is the connection between, like, art in spaces. Is that something that you're looking into? Because
I would love to. I mean, I will, shout out Mr. Easy at the moment, because he just did something. He collaborated music and art together really beautifully. So for his new album, he had, like, I think 12 or 15 African artists design an album cover, and then did an exhibition of those album covers, and actually then all those album covers are his album covers. So I really loved that. But it's different. Nollywood is it's the wild, wild west. Honestly.
You keep laughing. You keep laughing to avoid these questions. And the laugh is the answer. I understand.
I mean, Nollywood, I feel that what I've actually seen more in Nollywood, which I'm enjoying, is the fusion of fashion and film. So I feel like music is coming towards art. I feel like contemporary art of Africa and music are kind of having this lovely little relationship. And then fashion, like all these really cool young emerging designers, and then the actors in Nollywood, they're coming together. We haven't quite all branched yet, but I think it will happen.
I think you're absolutely right, because there was more of, like, this push of wearing, like, African designers. Because I think that was the art space that was more readily acceptable by the parents. It's like, okay, we all have to wear clothes. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay, my daughter is she designs. No, that they can understand and comprehend.
Yeah.
But then it's like the music, so you want to rap, and then, Burna Boy.
But, there's still that is. The very fact there's a creative industry. I mean, some of my aunts and uncles are still like, so you have an art shop? And I'm like, oh, God.
Our people are so disrespectful. They're so, I was called a clown. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, any African artist that you see has made it. Like, there's nothing anyone can say to bring them down, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I was called a clown by people who loved me. So you want to be a clown. And then I was called a jester. Okay, I was like, there are no words for comedian. It was like, so you want to be a jester.
You want to be a jester. Yeah.
I don't juggle balls.
Get it.
So any artist from the continent that you see is successful, just know that if anyone tells them they're never going to make it in the world, it's like, oh my God, thank you for believing in me.
Yes. No, really.
But I do think it's funny that you say, because I think there is a beautiful space, cross-pollination for art, because now you do also have a lot of African novelists or people who write from the continent. Like, I mean, you see all the books, the Niger Wife. There's so many titles now from authors from the continent.
Yes.
Even the artwork that goes into that. You can, there's a cross-pollination between your artist and the book covers.
One of our artists, Deborah, who's in the pink room, she did a cover for one of the an African artist. I can't remember his name, I feel so terrible, but she did do his cover. So that's I really enjoyed. What has been happening as well, not on the continent, but internationally, is designers wanting to work more with African artists for projects, whether, they have a line or accessory line or textile print. Zandile, again, did something with Bottega as a print. I think Dior had about a few artists, like lots and lots of artists, including Nwako, but I think female artists did a bag as well. So I feel that I'm seeing international brands wanting to work with artists of the continent. Our own people, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And so let's talk about that, though, because there is this thing of, we like it, the outside gaze, we appreciate because that's how we get fed.
Yes.
But then there's also the thing of ownership, right? Because it's like, then how do we own it, or because what happens when the outside gaze decides, well, that was cute. We're done.
And we're
with
done
this now.
Yes.
And then the chips fall where they've kind of always fallen.
Yeah.
How do we prevent that?
This is why I'm really trying to push for Ghanaians to buy more Ghanaian arts. As I said, like the way markets survive is if the local community buy their work. It's if you don't rely on the outsiders to buy it, then it'll always thrive, which is why Nigerian's art market and South Africa's art market are very strong, because everyone within their communities buy their work. It's harder still in Ghana because, as I said, we still rely like 90% on international buyers. But I think having more galleries and more spaces, and we've got more residency spaces and curators and a lot more people wanting to be in art more than a painter, the business aspect of it or the writing aspect of it. And I feel like that's what's making our industry stronger as well. And Ghanaians getting used to seeing art, like we had this wonderful day during Valentine's Day last year. We had the Cowboys, next room.
The Cowboys are
Cowboys,
fabulous.
Our Pink Cowboys by Samuel. And what I loved was for the first time, our gallery, boys were bringing girls on dates there.
Yes, date ideas. You better curate.
Yeah, and then the people were wearing pink to come to the gallery. And on Valentine's Day, like people came there with their pink flowers and their little pink outfits. And I loved that it was this kind of space where younger Ghanaians were like, bring their other halves, and then, like a really lovely high-end day. And I remember really enjoying that. And that was what was important to me as well, with the gallery space, like where I'm placed in Accra. Any of you come. It's in airport, but it's in a complex that's very easily accessible. Like anyone from the street can come in. We don't have like these massive gates, or it's not like, thou shalt not enter if thou shalt not have any money kind of thing. It's open. There's a cafe. It's a lot of human traffic, because I wanted like kids or any Ghanaian or any person walking past to be like, oh, and have, walk in. So I've enjoyed that getting the local, more people into the space. So
I think what's also really interesting about what's happening on the continent right now, you have more countries offering visa-free entry.
Yes.
And Ghana has also offered citizenship as well to any African American.
Mm-hmm.
And so how in the art world especially in Ghana, are you capitalizing off that? I mean, obviously before the pandemic was the year of the return.
Yes.
The gallery wasn't open then, but I feel like there's going to be a lot more Ghanaians on the continent.
I mean, the amount of Black American collectors I have particularly, is so much, and it's so exciting. Like before, I feel that there's been a switch in the last kind of year. I have a lot more African American collectors, and I love that. I don't know if it's because there's more interest on the continent itself or the art itself, but I have noticed significantly that yes, it's gone up. I'd love more female African American collectors.
Well, because we're the ones that got the money.
Why are you laughing?
That's why it's so hard to date.
Yeah. But
yeah, I'm out of control. Arthur was the one who asked me to be up here.
Yeah. But no, that has been amazing. I think this kind of Ghana look, Condé Nast said Ghana was like one of 2024's holiday destinations with like Santorini and all these places. So
y'all better fix the roads. Y'all better fix the roads. Because they coming.
Oh my God, the roads.
And that's on camera.
You're gonna make me choke.
Like, I don't speak for the country.
No,
but I do feel like that foot traffic will help the gallery, because to your point, while we may want, Ghanaians or Nigerians, but you're opening up to a wider market of African Americans from around the world.
The diaspora.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what I'm also trying to do is show a lot more. I want to have a lot more artists from this side of the world, like Black Americans, or I was even looking at Afro-Brazilians. Our next artist who's here, sitting right there, green hair. Hi, Kia.
Hey, boo, hey.
Kia's from the Bahamas, so she'll be coming to Ghana. So I feel like this is now the kind of connections I want to make with the space. It's like we are so worldwide. I can't just focus on Africa itself, because we're everywhere. So I think that would also bring a lot more people in. But yeah,
I love that. I love it because the cross. Now we're really talking about how to get the diaspora connected. You know, you have a lot more people doing their DNA testing, and it's like, approval open on me, and like, I'm 30% Nigerian. I'm like, okay, girl, okay, where we 30%? Going? Yeah, and so there is that tie, there is that buy-in that the diaspora as a whole want to have with the continent. Yes. So I do think it's a beautiful opportunity for collectors, for artists, because their work is now speaking to just all people of color.
Absolutely.
In a beautiful way.
That's this is kind of why we even have the title, The Sound of Our Souls. It was about amplifying. I feel like the time to amplify the voice of these artists is now. And I feel like it's a sound that needs to be heard everywhere. But what I really enjoy is that I think for those who've never even been to Africa or in any part of it, I feel like you really do get to see glimpses of what it's really like with people from all different parts. Like Yusra is Moroccan, and then we've got Bolu's in Nigeria, we've got Ghanaians, South African, Zimbabweans, Ugandans. So I really feel that it's almost like getting a glimpse into their lives and world, which I think is so important. And also seeing how contemporary and vibey and fresh it is on that side of the world too,
One thing I have been wanting to do and am going to do is to create kind of an artist incubator.
Fantastic.
For creatives, like first generation creatives.
Yes.
And basically I want to provide housing so that they don't have to worry about this. And so they have 1 year to create some kind of work.
Fantastic.
And at the end of the year, I executive produce it.
Residency.
Yes, it's a residency. Perfect. And I executive produce that.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens in the art world? Is there something that can?
It's happening more and more, and
we also need funding for that idea. So anybody here, it's not just an idea, it's going to be a reality, but we need money.
Yeah, we do. But no, it is happening more. So like in Ghana, that's what's been wonderful. I think a lot of the artists themselves are opening residencies. And we're getting, and those are the kind of spaces that are needed more, because then you have somewhere, as you said, an incubator, you can have talks, but you also get to coach these artists in a good section of time, coming to somewhere like Ghana, not just the city of Accra, going up to the mountains of Aburi, going to the beach, going to see Cape Coast, see the historical slave castles, the forest, but then having this really immersive experience while learning how to do their craft as well, and then doing a show. It's perfect. I feel like for me, like the best situation would be a lot more residencies and galleries, because I feel like, yes, you'll get all that lovely art, but then you need to sell it, right? So that's when we come in. But I think residencies are so important, because that is exactly, because you don't have enough schools, that is where an artist's practice and talent can be nurtured really well. So well done. I'll support you. I'll find you money.
We thank God. I love Ghana jollof. I do. I'll strike that from the record after the check clears.
No, she said it.
After the check clears, strike that from the record. But we would love to open it up to questions from the audience. I think we have some time. If anyone has questions, please raise your hand and we will get you a microphone. Yes.
How did I select them? So I wanted to show artists that have never shown on the West Coast before. So some of them have shown in New York or Chicago, but for me, I thought I wanted it to be very, very fresh. So each of the artists have never, ever been shown in a gallery or in a space in LA. And then from that, it was more, I don't know. I had the title before I approached the artist, but I wanted to show a variety of artwork and practice as well. So yeah, I was very lucky. I just kind of asked them all and they all said yes, to be honest. So they were like my wish list. But I did want to show different aspects of the continent, which was why I didn't want to just show like Ghanaian artists or just Nigerian or South African. I really wanted to show, almost represent the whole continent as a whole. So yeah.
And are there artists here that are in the gallery?
Yes.
I think we have a couple.
So we've got Kia
Please
here.
stand. Please stand. Yes.
This is Kia. So everyone, this is Kia.
Hi.
Whose beautiful work is behind Arthur. And Kia is actually our next solo exhibition in Ghana in December.
Okay.
So we're doing a solo with her.
Kia, congratulations.
And I think Gabriel is here. Gabriel? There he is.
Hello.
So Gabriel's in the beautiful back room, these beautiful images of portraits of man and children and him in a self-portrait, very vulnerable
That
paintings.
was you, Gabriel?
Yeah. So Gabriel's
what's your story? What's your backstory? Hold on, I got it here. What's your backstory? What was your inspiration for these artworks? Mm-hmm. I got you. Hold on. Okay. He tall, y'all. He tall. Hold on.
No, it was just family. Family. Yeah, family.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you related to Gabriel? Okay. Who is this? That's your cousin. Okay. Yeah. That's your okay. I'm just getting some background information. I'm just being basic. No, make sure y'all go to the back room. It is actually fantastic.
No, Gabriel, we did a show with him earlier this year, and we sold out. Sold out a show. Every single painting gone.
Well, I think I got a couple of paintings in the back. I'm pretty sure they're gone.
He is definitely. I mean, they're all. I feel that I've been very lucky, but all the artists I work with are. When I say they're one to watch, I know every gatherer says that, but those of my collectors will know. When I say one to watch, I really do mean they're one to watch.
Are there any more artists here?
Unfortunately, not. No, I would hoped more had come, but American visas. So.
Listen, you got to send me toys. And your artwork in the back, it is kind of like an amalgamation of like fabric and
yes, Kia's work. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Okay, show and tell. Yeah. So it's mixed media. I work primarily in collage, textile, and painting. And I work a lot with self-portraits. Yes. And my show is going to be called Past Lives. So I think a lot about...
I didn't know that.
Henry can't tell you, girl.
I know. Check my email.
You heard it first. UTA Art Space, Past Lives.
And actually, the title of the show helped me really work through a lot this year and thinking about the ways that I think my mother and her mother and her mother, we've all kind of lived together. You know, she carried me in her eggs, and like we've lived these lives together, and we've lived a lot of lives together, my like chosen family. So I think about that connection. And that one's called Born Again.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Stunning.
She's been here before. Yes, girl, we all have.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well done, Kia.
Any other questions or? Yes.
I just wanted to know, is there any education for the locals so they can realize the value of the art that's in their community?
I mean, gosh, we're trying to find more ways. As I said, I've been doing more panel talks, and there's been I love it. Ghana, they love educational things, so we have a lot of talks. And I try to do as many as I can. But Leo, my creative director, who's hiding right there, has been telling me to do a podcast on the education and the business of art for a long time. And I think I think it is something we need to do. So yeah, I think we'll do a podcast or something.
Because a podcast is global.
It's global.
Anyone at any point can listen to it if you have an iPhone or the other brand. All y'all green text bubbles.
But we do have talks in the galleries, or like when we have the artists come, we have school students or young artists come by, and then the artists who are showing then discuss their artwork, and then they have a chance to talk about it then. So, yeah.
Very, very, very doable.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else? I think we are fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I have a question for you. I know the exhibit is going to be up till December 9th.
Yes.
If anybody wants to purchase art, how does this work? Arthur, is this a question for you, or is this a question for you?
The amazing Susanna from UTA is here somewhere. But yes, just contact UTA or contact me, but I'll send you to UTA. But please do have a look. It's on for 2 weeks. Come by. I think today will be a lot of people, and you maybe see everything. But please come on a quiet day. And in the sunshine, it looks even more amazing.
Yes.
So.
And these are all the ones, are all of these available? These are all the ones that are available.
I don't think all are available.
Yeah, they're not, because I already got a couple. So awkward.
Which is fantastic, yay. But do have a look. So this is the main room, and then we've got the room after the pink room, and then there's a white room after.
Yes,
so.
Please feel free to meander through all the rooms.
And ask me any questions.
Yes.
I'm here.
I love that.